In June, there were bait balls aplenty on Bonaire. The first one we saw was quite large, so much so that we shared a video just focused on that. Then we saw another 1 week later, so they're both making it into the best of June. We use a number of superlatives in these videos because, well, Mother Nature is awesome, but this one goes to 11. Would you believe we had 13 first-time captures last month? We usually average a couple of new sea animals per week, but this summer has started off spectacularly. We'll begin with this reticulated flatworm that was crawling in some very sparse seagrass in the shallows. Actually, that wasn't the only flatworm we saw on that particular night. We also saw this bicolored flatworm crawling down the side of a coral head near the drop-off. We don't really see flatworms that often, so 2 in 1 night was amazing. Not all worms are flat. Some build and live in tubes on the reef, and they look very different. The forked bristles here belong to a devil worm. Devil worms are filter feeders, capturing plankton and microorganisms that drift by on the current. Moving on to first-time mollusks, we didn't recognize this one at all, so we started checking our resources. Someone on Facebook mentioned it was a Pusula pediculus, more commonly known as a coffee bean trivia. Further research was both amusing and challenging, because searching for the phrase coffee bean trivia led us to all sorts of facts about the drink, not the snail. At least that one had a common name. We didn't have any luck with this one, so we'll do our best to pronounce the official name, which is Leucozonia leucozonalis. The purple coloring on both the shell and body matched quite well, and we were lucky to capture a good shot of the foot. Longtime viewers know that I have a meta tag titled "Bad Video, but Proof We Saw It," and unfortunately, this snail fits that definition. I switched over to the 13mm lens to get a wide shot of some reef cleanup, and much to my dismay, I accidentally used that lens for the next few shots. It's only 12 megapixels, so the quality is very disappointing. At least to me. Anyway, this is a netted olive. I was super excited as it was crawling across the sand at a fairly good clip. Then, something interesting happened. It slipped into a sandy hole and dragged a very long mucus trail it had generated to crawl across the sand with it. Eventually, it was able to climb its way back out, but I wonder how long those mucus trails can get. When they do get disconnected, how long does it take for them to break down? Are they sticky to other animals? So many questions. The last new snail shell we saw in June was this Barbados mitre shell in the sand. Because it was upside down, I thought it was unoccupied, so I had plenty of time to swap over to the macro lens. However, when I moved in for a close-up, the animal decided at that moment to pop its foot out and turn itself over. While we love seeing new shells, it's way better when the original animal is inside and not just lying around empty or occupied by a hermit crab. There were new fish as well, including this yellowface pikeblenny. We just caught its head peeking out of a hole in front of some coral debris in the shallows. As usual, we hung around for a while, so it could get used to us and know that we weren't predators. After that, we were able to approach it for some pretty good shots. There was a bit of current on one of my night dives that reminded me of snow blowing sideways in the Midwest, and the algae was rolling like tumbleweeds. However, if I hadn't endured, I would not have seen this unicorn filefish. To be honest, I think it was just as surprised to see me as I was to see it. It was actually quite curious, swimming very close to check me out, and I think we both came away with a cool story to tell our friends. Within the larger pattern of this star coral, we noticed something a little different. It turns out this semi-transparent fish is a Caribbean flagfin glass blenny. The first few dorsal fin spines are taller, but not super long, suggesting this is a female. Incredibly, we found another new kind of octopus. Twice! This one is called a brownstripe octopus, named for its notable brown stripe along the edge of its arms, as well as a dark streak in front of and behind its eyes. While this one was about 4 to 5 inches, we found another later in the month that was only 2 to 3 inches. It was about a half-mile away from the first one and, sadly, appeared to be living out of a can. Moving on to a new crustacean, this little guy is an elkhorn coral crab. Oddly, it was in some lobed star coral, not elkhorn coral, and we can validate that there isn't any elkhorn coral anywhere near the area where we found it. You know what? It doesn't matter. This is a beautiful crab. We'll close the first-time captures with this shortfin pipefish Leslie found. It was trying to hide, unsuccessfully, in just about the only coverage in the shallows, a small patch of algae. We're not really sure how it ended up in this area because there are a lot of people close by, and it's fairly clean sand for a big stretch. Not questioning, and very thankful it was there for us. We have a variety of interesting behaviors from June, and we'll start with this needlefish convoy. We also showed a similar one from Curacao in March, so it appears to be a regular way of traveling, but we're not sure why they prefer a single line rather than the traditional bunched-up school. If you have any ideas, please share them in the comment section below. Another interesting group activity involves blue tang swarming coral heads. The bulk of their diet is algae, so seeing them descend on a specific area means a little healthy cleanup for the reef. And they are absolutely mesmerizing to watch. It's not often we get to see mating activities, but we did manage to capture 2 reticulated hermit crabs in the act on one of our night dives. The male can be seen here, shall we say, coaxing the female. Eventually, both partially emerge from their shells, allowing the male to deposit his spermatophore. It's over rather quickly, so we were fortunate to catch these 2. Leslie saw a couple of eyed flounders going through a territorial dispute and called me over. It was not a short argument, as I have over 4 minutes of them facing off and then launching themselves toward each other. Slowing the footage down shows that one would go higher and try to slap or push or force the other into the sand. We're not sure how such disagreements get settled, but it was amazing to witness. Sailfin blennies can often be shy whenever divers swim by. However, when approached with caution, they just go about their business. This is a male showing off his massive dorsal fin, which is used to both ward off predators and attract females. Actually, they fire up the pelvic and anal fins as well. Everything is on full display. We don't see this combination very often. This stareye hermit crab looked normal enough, but when it turned around, we saw a fairly good-sized hitchhiking anemone attached. These two create a symbiotic relationship, with the anemone providing protection for the crab, and the crab providing transportation to the anemone, giving it more opportunities for food. We'll close with a classic that we don't get to see nearly as often as we would like: a Caribbean reef octopus out hunting. This one showed off some dramatic color changes as it enveloped rock and coral formations in the shallows. We didn't want to scare away its food all night, otherwise we would have followed it for the rest of the dive. Some of the uncommon animals we saw in June are really uncommon. For example, we don't exactly remember the last time we saw a beaded sea cucumber, but it's been well over a year. They can grow up to 3¼ feet and use those feather-like tentacles to filter organic material to push into their mouth. Spotted snake eels are also kind of rare. They just poke their heads out of the sand, and they can be difficult to notice, especially when the sea floor is covered with rocks and coral debris. Luckily, we saw this one, and it let us get close. Very close. Sometimes we go through periods where frogfish are nowhere to be found, but June was not one of those times. They're still on the island, across multiple sites. If you want to know where, check with, or better yet hire, a local dive guide. Seahorses are still in abundance as well. Occasionally on these same sites as froggies, making an already great dive fantastic. We won't dwell too much on these either, since they seem to be making regular appearances in these highlight videos. They're still pretty terrific though. Well, we should mention that we've seen a juvenile seahorse too. This little one was only about 2 or 3 inches tall. And the short-nosed batfish is still around, although it remains very challenging to find, which means it's all the more rewarding when you do. What we haven't seen in months are Caribbean reef squid. These two were in the murky shallows on the main island, and we saw this one on Bonaire. Hopefully they are positive signs we'll see more in the coming months. Poor visibility one morning did not stop us from spotting a very nice school of blue parrotfish. They were so busy grazing, they just came right up to us. We've shown juvenile spotted drums before, usually by themselves and occasionally in pairs, but we've never seen 5 in one place. Just gorgeous. Equally stunning were these few ruby brittle stars enjoying an evening on the reef. That is, until the paparazzi swam by. Fortunately, not all sea life is that shy. This beautiful tiger grouper leisurely swam through our group, allowing everyone to get a good shot. Here's a bit later for my turn. Another carefree animal was this hawksbill turtle doing a drive-by, again right through our group on a Bonaire boat dive. We caught up with it a few minutes later, foraging for food and completely ignoring the furious damselfish. Finally, sculptured slipper lobsters are always a welcome addition to any night dive. We caught this one crawling along the edge of the drop-off. They look so prehistoric. Overall, June was an extraordinary month for diving in Bonaire, don't you think? It was also a good month for the TropicLens channel as we crossed 3,000 subscribers. Thank you so much if you're already a subscriber, and if you're not, we'd love to have you. Thanks for watching. Smiley face.